Well, hello there, and welcome back to another episode of A New Life in Italy. I'm your host, Samantha Wilson, and today we are talking about something that most people never really think about when they start planning their move to Italy, and that is how a visa is so much more than just an entry ticket. I always describe a visa as the key that unlocks the door to Italy, the one that lets you get in and apply for a permesso di soggiorno, which is a permit to stay in Italy. But it is so much more than just a key and a permit, so much more than just a permission. It's a stepping stone to even bigger benefits, like long-term EU residency or even Italian citizenship. So if you've ever thought, I wish I could become Italian one day, or I'm no longer eligible for citizenship by descent, so maybe my dream is over, well, this episode is for you. Because the truth is, there's more than one road to becoming an Italian, and it starts with a visa. So grab your coffee, settle in, and let's talk about how your visa is so much more than you think. I'm Samantha Wilson, Chief Dreammaker at smartmoveitaly.com, and this is A New Life in Italy, a show where each week I take you behind the scenes of what it's really like to move to Italy, introduce you to some fascinating people, answer your questions, and show you how starting a new life in Bel Paese is possible for you. All right, we are back. So let's start at the very beginning, the visa. A visa is your official permission to enter Italy for a specific purpose. You'll apply at your local consulate. Think of it like a golden ticket that gets you past the very front gate. And whether you are coming to retire or to work remotely as a digital nomad, invest, study, or just reunite with your family, your visa is the foundation of your stay. It allows you to apply for what's called a permesso di soggiorno, which is a permit of stay in Italy. And without a visa, you can't get the permit. And without a permit, you can't register your residency. And without residency, you cannot get the benefits that a resident has, like buying a car, joining the healthcare system, opening a bank. You know, that little sticker inside your passport, the visa, it allows you to move through this bureaucracy to get to the end goal, which most people forget about, at least at the beginning. They get the visa, they get the permit, and then they think, all right, I made it, it's done. But that's really just the beginning. Because if you stay and you become a resident and continue to renew your permit, if you build a life here, there are incredible milestones that can completely change your status and your future. So let's start small. The very first milestone after you have your visa is at 2 years of legal residency. Now, there's two key paths that open up around this point, and this is only for some people, for people who perhaps lost their Italian citizenship through an ancestor naturalizing or through the new change in the laws. The first is citizenship through marriage. Now, if you're married to an Italian citizen and you live in Italy, so you come here on a visa with residency, you are eligible to apply for Italian citizenship after just 2 years of living together in Italy. That's pretty fast. Now, the second one is if you were planning to apply for Italian citizenship, but just got stung in that recent change of law this year, there's a way to get your Italian citizenship through naturalization or through residency after living here for 2 years. Now, it used to be 3 years, but the only good thing that came out about the recent law change was that time frame shortened up. It went from 3 to 2 years before you were eligible to apply for citizenship through residency. So a visa can actually become your bridge to the citizenship that you lost. Now, remember that the 2-year route has some rules to it. You have to have your Italian ancestor cannot be any further down the line besides your parent or your grandparent. If it's your great-grandparent, this doesn't work for you. You also have to have the B1 Italian language proficiency. But, that 2 years goes by pretty fast, much faster than applying anywhere else in the past. But keep in mind that there will also be a few years wait from the application to be recognized. So although you can apply at 2 years, you're still looking about 2 to 4 years after that before it's all done and dusted. Now, in short, a visa can be the tool that helps you get your citizenship back, even if your line was broken. And that's pretty cool. Now let's move on to the next big one, and the one that actually everyone qualifies. And that is at 5 years. Because after 5 years of continuous legal residency in Italy, you can apply for what's called an EU long-term permit. Now this is available in all of the European countries. And it's one of the most valuable things that you can earn without actually becoming a citizen, because it gives you many of the same rights as an Italian, like access to the healthcare system without paying that voluntary fee, local benefits. You can even work again if you were here on the ERV. Not just in Italy, but it's possible to also move to other European countries with a long-term permit. Now, to qualify for this long-term permit, you need to have 5 years of uninterrupted legal residency in Italy. You need to have a stable income and a clean record, and you also need a language component, which is only an A2, which is pretty basic. You should, after 5 years, be at least at this level with not a lot of work. But once you have this EU long-term permit, you've got long-term security. This permit, by the way, is good for 10 years, and it's renewable without a lot of trouble. It's really kind of just a quick procedure. Now, for many of our clients, this is their very first big milestone. Maybe they came on the elective residency visa to retire, or the digital nomad visa to work remotely, or even the investor visa. And 5 years later, they've built a life, they've learned the language, and they're ready for something more permanent. Because once you get the long-term permit, you no longer need a visa. So for those of you who are considering, let's say, the investor visa, if you move to Italy and become a resident, then after 5 years, you can divest, you can sell your shares. You no longer need the visa as long as you have the long-term visa in place. So think of it like graduating from temporary to established. All right, now for the grand finale, citizenship through residency. Now this is the long game, my friends, but it's achievable for anyone actually. So after 10 years of continuous legal residency, you can apply for full Italian citizenship, even if you have no Italian blood, no family connection, nothing but your love for the country. Italy has a long wait, however, because many other European countries allow citizenship through naturalization, through residency, in 5 years, but Italy makes you wait. Now, the only exception is if you are a European citizen and you have become a resident of Italy. You don't have to wait 10 years for your citizenship. You only have to wait 4. Now, there's some rules to eligibility for both of you, so here's what they are. First, you need to have been a legal resident of Italy for 10 consecutive uninterrupted years. And remember, this requires registering your residency at the comune. And if you move, to continue to keep it registered consecutively for 10 years. You have to have sufficient income, and that's, around 8,500 euros a year per person. You have to be regular with your income tax obligations, and you have to prove that by giving them the last 3 years of your income tax. You also need to stay compliant with your taxes throughout the entire process, and this process can take 2 to 4 years after you've applied. So you can't just come here for 10 years, apply for your citizenship, and then leave and not pay taxes anymore. You have to continue to be compliant with your taxes throughout that time until you're recognized. And you also need to have the B1 language certificate, so, a lower intermediate level. You also need to have a valid permesso di soggiorno or even a valid EU long-term permit and no criminal record. It's a process for sure, like everything is in Italy, but it's how thousands of foreigners have become Italian citizens every single year. They start with a visa, any visa that they qualify for, and they stay. They learn the language, they pay their taxes, they integrate into the community, and after 10 years, they become eligible to apply for Italian citizenship. And once you become an Italian, you're not just part of Italy, you're part of the European Union, and that's a really big deal because it means freedom to live and work and travel across all of the Schengen zone. No visa required. It's a life-changing transformation. So when you hear people say, I can't get citizenship because I'm not Italian, remember this. There's more than one way to become an Italian, and it can start with a visa. So now that we know your immigration path doesn't end at the visa, let's talk a little bit of strategy because this is where the magic happens. A visa isn't just an entry pass. It's a stepping stone. For example, if you start with an elective residency visa, which is ideal for retirees or those with passive income. After 5 years of legal residency, you can shift to long-term residency. That's that EU long-term permit, at which time you are permitted to work all of a sudden. And then after 10 years, you can apply for your Italian citizenship. The key is to ensure that you do all of the bureaucracy when you arrive in the right way and that you've maintained your residency. Now, if you're working remotely like a digital nomad, you can have your foothold here in Italy, build your life here. And after 5 years, that can evolve into permanent status. For investors and entrepreneurs, the investor visa is the fast lane. It's renewable as long as your investment remains in place, and it leads directly to long-term residency and later citizenship. So even on this visa, you have the benefits of these two major milestones. Many of our investor visa clients use this visa as a bridge towards citizenship if they've lost their citizenship through their ancestors or even through the new law on naturalization. Investor visas also use this visa as a bridge between the visa and the long-term permit at 5 years. If they establish residency on their investor visa, after 5 years, they no longer need their visa. They can sell their shares, divest, get the long-term permit, and live here without that visa. Even student visas can be converted into work visas for after graduation, giving younger expats or families another path towards long-term life in Italy. And don't forget, if you got caught up in the recent changes to the citizenship laws and your parent or grandparent was the Italian, your wait is only 2 years, at least 2 years to apply. But you need the visa first. You need the visa to get in first. So each of these visas can be used strategically depending on your situation. It's not only about finding the perfect visa, it's about getting started, then building from there. So let's bring this all together. A visa isn't just your ticket into Italy, it is your beginning. It is the first step on the journey that can lead to something a lot bigger: stability, community, belonging, and yes, even Italian citizenship. So if you've been sitting on the fence because you think you missed your chance of citizenship, think again, my friend. A visa could be your new starting point. And if you're not sure where to start, remember we have a free visa guidebook on our website at smartmoveitaly.com. So download that visa guidebook, take a look at the available visas and see if any of them fit. Because if they do, it is the perfect next step for your new life in Italy. It's time for listener questions. Just like the old radio call-in shows, my team has picked 3 listener questions, all left on our voicemail. I have no idea what these questions are, but I haven't been stumped yet. Are you ready? Let's get started. All right, let's get started with the questions today. Question number 1. Can I really work remotely from Italy on a tourist visa? Or do I need something official like a digital nomad visa? Oh, this is a good question. And I can't tell you how many people I speak to that say, well, you know, I come to Italy, I'm doing the Schengen shuffle, and every 90 days I go to Italy and I just work from my laptop or, do my work while I'm there. Well, a lot of people do this and don't get caught. In reality, it's illegal because when you come into Italy, when you pass the border and you declare that you're here as a tourist, then you have to follow the rules of what a tourist is, and that is not permitted. A tourist is not permitted to work in Italy. And the idea is people say, well, I'm not working in Italy or for Italians. I'm working in my own business or remotely for the company that I work for back in my home country. Well, the rule is that wherever your bum is, wherever you're sitting down doing the work, that is where you're actually doing the work. So if you're here as a tourist and your plan is to be working while you're here as a tourist, the idea is, will they ever catch you? Well, most people work digitally now. So if they want to look, there's all kinds of footprints and breadcrumbs to show what you've been doing while you've been here. So really, if you're coming here as a tourist, you need to be a tourist and not be working. Question number 2, how much Italian do I actually need to speak before moving to Italy? Will I survive with just English first? I think I've answered this question quite a bit, but this is a little bit of a reminder to people that language is a tough journey for most people. We always find that, and don't take me wrong, don't get me wrong on this, but we usually find that women tend to pick up languages a little bit faster. Not all women, but usually that's the case. If we see a couple, it's usually the woman or the wife that tends to speak faster or learn a little bit sooner. But the reality is it's a journey, and it will take you some time. Learning a new language is not easy, and it's pressure, and it's stressful, and it's embarrassing, and all of those things that, you try to avoid in your life. But do you need to wait until you're fluent and you can speak before moving to Italy? No, but you need to be thinking about the language that you need to learn, and you should be trying to learn some before you move. Now, once you move to Italy and you're entrenched in the lifestyle here, you will pick it up faster than if you weren't here, but you might not pick it up very fast at all. It might take you a long time. So just think about that. It's something you will need to do. You will, yes, need to learn Italian if you plan to stay here and live here a long time, especially if you're going for a visa. That requires an A2 or a B1 language. You have to focus on it. But at the very beginning, do you need to be fluent? No, you don't. But you need to be committed to learning the language and trying, at least trying. Question number 3, if I buy a home in Italy, does that make the visa or residency process easier? Well, you've asked me 2 things, visa and residency, 2 separate things. So first of all, does it make getting a visa easier? It's not automatic. There are visa denials for people who own a property in Italy. So it doesn't mean once you buy a property, you will get the visa. But it does show the consulate that you've already made a commitment in Italy. So this is a good thing. And it also satisfies the residential component or the home component of most visas. So instead of having to go out and find a rental before you apply, if you already own a home, then you use the deed. Now, residency process, yes, it absolutely will make that process easier because you already have a place to live. But one thing I want to remind you, if you don't know about this already, is that if you are bringing a spouse on a visa and you're living in the home that you own, or you are a European citizen or Italian citizen and your spouse is not, and you plan to move and live in the home that you own in Italy, you will need to have a suitability certificate, even if you both are on the deed and own the home, because the spouse will be coming with the EU or coming with the visa holder. So there's a little piece of bureaucracy called an idoneità loggiativa or suitability certificate that is necessary in order for them to proceed with the immigration process. But ultimately, buying a home will help you find your residency here, and it will help you tick the boxes that you need for the visa, but it won't get the visa for you. Well, that's all for this week's episode. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions about visas, citizenship, property, and, well, really anything about moving to Italy that you would like me to answer in an upcoming episode, please feel free to send us a voicemail at our website at smartmoveitaly.com/podcast, or just click on the links in the show notes. Thanks again for listening, and remember, you can find all of the resources and the links to the people and the places that I mentioned in this episode inside the show notes. Ciao for now. A New Life in Italy podcast is a production of Sentire Media, created and hosted by me, Samantha Wilson. Production by London Nero, and with special thanks to Ali Frothingham, Sofia Pisana, and the entire team at Sentire. Follow A New Life in Italy wherever you get your podcasts. And hey, if you're thinking of moving to Italy, whether full-time, part-time, or for a lifetime, come and see me over at smartmoveitaly.com, and we'll help you get here and start living your best life. And don't forget, if you love this episode, please rate and leave a review. It's much appreciated. I can't wait to meet up with you again next week, same time, same place. Ciao for now.